Our guest name is Jeff Wilfahrt. He's the father of Corporal Andrew Wilfahrt, who was actually the first gay service member to die in combat since the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in December of 2010. Jeff, welcome to the Young Turks.
Thank you, Cenk.
Jeff, first tell us a story about your son.
First thing I'd like to tender is that there actually was another known gay soldier to have died. Actually, he was a Marine, but he was not outed until after the fact, whereas in our son's case, he was actually known to virtually the entire company he served with. Andrew was 29 when he announced to his mother and I that he was going to join the Army, and he lamented the fact that he'd waited until 29 to do it because apparently the cutoff for the Marine Corps is 28, and I think that was the first apple of his eye, was to get in with those guys. And anyways, he went to an Army recruiter. He talked to them about his options, and he opted for the military police because I think he felt that was a good combination of both the warrior ethic and as well as a function to help restructure the Afghan society. Was
he out at that point, Jeff?
Yeah, he was, I suppose, arguably known to be gay to his mother and I from a very young age, but he actually, I guess, announced it or proclaimed it at the age of 16. And he was very active in terms of, hanging with the uptown crowd here in the Minneapolis area, and he was out and proud.
And how did he feel about joining the military, given, Don't Ask, Don't Tell at the time was still in effect?
Well, he had actually, he knew people here in the community and stuff that were ex-servicemen that were gay, and he talked to them, and I think he knew what he was getting in for, and I think he actually received counsel not to bother doing it and stuff. But I think he was looking, he was bouncing around from minimum wage jobs and stuff. He was looking for an arc, Cenk, and I think he was looking for a way to do something with his life, and one of the things I think he was seeking was male camaraderie, and not of,
right.
Of a platonic nature.
Right, of course. And how did you feel about him joining the military?
I was okay with it. The night he announced it at the dinner table, I was kind of prodding him to, if he got his button gear and would go apply to colleges in the spring, his mother and I would find a way to foot the bill that fall for tuition. This went down at December. And he looked up sheepishly, and he said, I've been thinking about joining the military, and actually one of the things he said was that he was looking for some structure in his life, which I sort of took as an arrow to the heart. We're sort of solid lefties in this family. But, I was proud of him for having finally identified a life arc, a path for him to follow. So I was pleased with it. I think his mother had other sentiments. She was concerned, of course, about his sexuality going into the service and stuff, and how he might be hurt or, either physically or mentally by it.
And Jeff, was that ever an issue as far as you knew, or did his time
in the military?
Yeah, or did the people he served with have no problem with it?
I would say the people he served with had no real problem with it. A couple of quick anecdotes. When he returned to us after basic training, he commented. He said he had never seen so much dry humping in his life in the gay community, but there sure was a hell of a lot of it among the heteros down at boot camp.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, there you go. And he actually, when he went in, Cenk, he actually had sort of a cover story for himself. He had a very close personal friend, and she agreed. She did this photograph, kind of cuddled up to him and stuff. And he was, he sort of had this cover story that he would, if he needed to use it, that he had just broken up in this relationship, and blah blah blah. But he never, to my knowledge, he never had to fall back on that.
Now I want to get to what you want to do for him in a second, but I'm also curious. I think maybe the audience is, what wound up happening to him? How did he pass away?
He served in what was known as Substation Number 7, about 6 kilometers west of Kandahar. This was actually written up in a Time magazine article last January, and it was the first time we had any insight into his day-to-day life in the military. He was very much by the book. He was total warrior. And they routinely patrolled the main highway. If you Google map this, you'll see where there's a main highway that runs fundamentally east-west and then winds to the south to the KAF, the Kandahar Air Force Base. But they would patrol this road, and they stopped they dismount, as they call it. They got out of the vehicles. They form a line. They cross a bridge. They got to the far side of the bridge, and they were called to arrest. And they were in effectively a column or a file. And he was the ninth man in the file, and the IED was remotely detonated. And what killed him specifically was a 122 millimeter round. And there were at least two, or there's some confusion on my part whether there were 2 or 3 of these other chemical jugs, neither of which did detonate. And in fact, one of his closest friends was standing directly atop of one of those and was spared. But functionally, Andrew was destroyed. The sergeant in his vehicle, his command sergeant, was also wounded rather severely and went through Walter Reed. And then a young Afghani girl was also brutally injured. I believe a very serious portion of her face was torn away.
Before we get to what you're fighting for in Minnesota, I want to ask one more question about that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's more personally affected by the war in Afghanistan than you are, given what's happened. We just found out that we might be staying till 2024. That was a story that broke yesterday. How do you feel about that?
Okay, my personal reflection is this. When Obama announced, 3-4 weeks back, that he was going to do this drawdown, what I know is that a lot of other families in this country have been condemned to go through what we are going through. And I can also tell you that every soldier that we've spoken with directly, save one, who actually happened to be a kid from next door who's now in the Marine Corps, to a person, they say get out. And these are literally people with their boots on the ground, mixing among the people. The place is foul. It's disease prone. It's open sewage. It's an illiterate nation. And I'll tell you, Cenk, when our son went in, he was very much about helping rebuild that nation. And about 6 months in, he realized that Afghanistan is a country that is not ready for democracy.
Right.
So he did a 180 on his own attitude, and like I say, he went in very positive. And this was a very bright man. Out of his footlocker came Heidegger and Marcus Aurelius and Sun Tzu and stuff. Our son was no lightweight.
Right. No, I went through that same transformation. Obviously, not in the combat theater, but I thought the Afghanistan war made sense in the first place since we got attacked from people who had literally a base there. But 10 years in, thinking that we can transform that country into something it isn't, at least not now, is, and to see, just to talk to you, knowing that what your family went through, it's heart-wrenching, honestly, because it didn't have to happen. It's futile. But anyway, I know you want to, honor your son's memory by doing something here at home. Tell us about that, Jeff.
Yeah, I guess if you had, if you had done a Google search on our name on February 26th, you wouldn't have found a lot of content. Obviously, the events of February 27th threw my wife and I into, an unintended spotlight, and at the invitation of a local organization out front, Minnesota, we were invited to speak at a local LGBT rally in front of the state capitol, which occurred shortly after the death of our son. And what it's done is sort of propelled us into the issue of a marriage amendment here in the state of Minnesota. We are of the opinion that marriage is a legal thing. It's a legal construct, which is why it takes a divorce lawyer or a court to unwind a marriage. It is also why we can have things in this country like a DOMA law, all pointing to the fact that it's a legal construct. We have a DOMA law here in Minnesota, and in 2010, the GOP took over both the Senate and the House in Minnesota. We maintain a Democratic governor in Mark Dayton, who is very much on the side of the LGBT community. And the GOP here brought forth an amendment, a marriage amendment, stating that I believe this is reasonably correct, that in Minnesota, a marriage shall be defined as a union of one man and one woman. And we're against that amendment because we feel it violates the underpinnings of the Constitution. That is, that we feel the LGBT community has a right to get before the courts and argue the case of DOMA. The arguments given by the proponents of the bill are that let the people vote, which of course is a truncation for really let's let the people vote on the rights of a minority. And the other calling card they like to use is that they don't want any activist judges making rulings adverse to their intent. And yet that's why we have courts, to interpret what our Constitution writ large stands for, which is equal rights and fairness under the law. So my wife and I are really fighting this on the basis of the constitutionality issue, which is we feel that this minority community has a right to stand before the courts, be the appellate or be the Supreme Court, and argue for their rights to a legal construct, which is marriage.
Right.
Now, I know that the religious communities and stuff want to argue tradition, man, woman, and the biological reproduction and blah, 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 blah. And they can wrap and couch those arguments all they want, but in the end, it's still a legal construct. And so when Citizen A and Citizen B lay down their money for a marriage license, it seems to me, constitutionally, they have a right to fight for that right as a legal thing.
Right. Look, we had activist judges so-called activist judges that said in Brown versus Board of Education that, hey, you know what, maybe we shouldn't segregate blacks and whites. And they stood up for the rights of minorities, as they were supposed to do, because that is their constitutional role. So, after all these years, they bring back these arguments about activist judges and how the people can take away the rights of minorities. Look, it's already wrong and it's already sickening, but it's your personal story is really interesting, because here you guys are. Your son gave up his life for this country, and they say, well, if he was back home, we wouldn't give him full rights.
Precisely.
How mad does that make you?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really angry at the country writ large. We can all argue about whether a particular speed zone should have the speed limit it has. We have differences of opinion all the time in our country over things large and small. And if we collectively as a society embrace a DOMA law, then who am I to argue with the majority if they won't hear the argument? If I have any anger at all, it's really focused at two particular legislators here in the state of Minnesota. One is Senator Warren Limmer, who actually took his district with a 97% vote last time, and he's hardcore. He's an old Michelle Bachmann crony. He also worked with her back in, I believe it was 2006, trying to get a marriage amendment on the ballot here in Minnesota. And the other guy is a man named Steve Gottwald out of St. Cloud, Minnesota, and he brought it forth in the House. I don't know if you guys had a chance to view the comments of Representative Simon or the Representative Kriesel, but even the persuasion of those arguments carried. These GOPers want this so bad that they won't even listen to a rational argument. It would seem that reason and intellectualism and enlightenment have been thrown out of the state politics in Minnesota.
Well, I think they got thrown out of the GOP a long time ago. So, I mean, God bless you for thinking that you could reason with them. I'm not sure that that's what they respond to. But I love that you're picking up the fight and that you're participating and trying to do right in honor and in memory of your son, Corporal Andrew Wilfahrt. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff. We really appreciate it.
You're absolutely welcome, and thank you for giving us a chance to speak.
Absolutely, no problem.